Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya Jaya Nityananda Jaya Advaita Chandra Jaya Gaura Bhakta Vrinda.
Jaya Jaya Shri Chaitanya
So we are reading from Shri Chaitanya Charitamrta, Adi Lila, chapter 4, verse number 57. Sei dui eke ebe chaitanya goshani rasa rasavadi te donhe haila ekathani. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. 57. Now, to enjoy rasa, they have appeared in one body as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. So we are continuing with the same chapter, and we are continuing with transcendental knowledge about Radha and Krishna. And we have already learned the different reasons why Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, why Krishna came as Radha and Krishna combined as Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to relish the mellows or the rasa. And Krishna wanted to relish the mellows that Radharani relishes in love for Krishna. 58. Iti lagi age kari tara vivarana yaha haite haya gaurera mahima kathana. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Therefore, I shall first delineate the position of Radha and Krishna. From that description, the glory of Lord Chaitanya will be known. So now, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is going to precisely describe the position of Radha and Krishna. It is not possible to understand Radha and Krishna. This is what Srila Prabhupada says. Why? Because the glories are unlimited. They are expanding more and more and more. So, since it is not possible to understand Radha and Krishna without the mercy of Guru and Krishna, all we can do is just hear about it. Like we've been doing in the past few weeks, we are hearing about it. And only after hearing, maybe, probably, we may understand Radha and Krishna's glories or Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's glories, because in this verse, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is talking about the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Now, to be able to even get a slight knowledge about the glories of Radha and Krishna, we definitely need the mercy of Guru and Krishna. Without that, it is not possible. So now we see Krishna as Kaviraj Goswami will start describing the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Text 59. Radhika Haena Krishnera Pranaya Vikara Swarupa Shakti Hiladani Nama Yanahara. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Srimati Radhika is the transformation of Krishna's love. She is his internal energy called Hiladani. Again, some more knowledge about Radha and Krishna. Of course, I'm not qualified to describe because I myself don't know. I don't really understand. But we can hear about it, and here it is saying, Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami is saying that she is the transformation of Krishna's love. It's difficult to understand love. more difficult to understand Radha Krishna's love, and more difficult is to learn the transformation of that Krishna's love. And so in this verse, for the first time, I think we are coming across the Hiladani Shakti. Hiladani Shakti is pleasure-giving potency of Krishna. So since it is not possible, at least for me, to understand all this or talk about it, because it's beyond me, and all I can understand right now is that Radha and Krishna are same. They are one. We've already heard that. They are one, and they divide into two for their pastimes, right? That's what we have heard. So to be able to understand Radha and Krishna, if one, Prabhupada says, if one sincerely follows the 5 limbs of devotional service, sincerely. Does anyone remember what are those 5 limbs? One is Sadhu Sangha, association of devotees. Nam Kirtana, which is chanting the holy names of the Lord. Bhagavad Shravanam, which means hearing Srimad Bhagavatam, hearing the Vedic scriptures or spiritual knowledge. 4th is Mathura Vas, which is residing in a holy place. And 5th is Murtira Shraddhaya Sevana, worshipping the deities at home. These are the 5 limbs of devotional service. When first time I had heard this, I was ecstatic. It said Mathura Vas. Pack your bags and go to Vrindavan. Leave everything and go and live in Vrindavan. But the bubble was burst because I was told you can make your home Vrindavan, and I'm like, oh, the opportunity gone. No, that opportunity was gone. Because I have asked Guru Maharaj maybe 3 times or 4 times about going and living in Vrindavan. And every time, what was the answer? Make your home Vrindavan and sit there. Do your bhajan over there. So these 5 limbs, they all 4 limbs can be performed in the home, which is actually should be a Mathura Vas or a holy place. This knowledge we get from Madhya Lila of Sri Chaitanya Caritamrta, 22nd chapter, verse number 128. So if somehow the other we can take to heart and sincerely and seriously chant our 16 rounds minimum, associate with devotees, sadhu sangha, sarva shastra kay, lava matra sadhu sangha, sarva siddhi hoy. Sarva means all. We can get so much benefit just by a moment's association with a sadhu. So association of devotees is very, very essential. Then chanting, associating, chanting, hearing Srimad Bhagavatam. That's why it is said, an apple a day keeps the not Bhagavatam away. That would be terrible. Then we wouldn't be eating apples at all. An apple a day keeps the doctor away. 1 Bhagavatam class a day keeps Maya away. Then there is Mathura Vas and worshipping the deities at home. So these are the 5 limbs of devotional service. Verse number 60. Hiladani karaya Krishna ananda swadana, Hiladanira dwara kare bhaktera poshana. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. That Hiladani energy gives Krishna pleasure and nourishes his devotees. How wonderful. Purport. Srila Jiva Goswami has elaborately discussed the Hiladani potency in his Priti Sandarbha. He says that the Vedas clearly state, only devotional service can lead one to the personality of Godhead. Only devotional service can help a devotee meet the Supreme Lord face to face. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is attracted by devotional service. And as such, the ultimate supremacy of Vedic knowledge rests in knowing the science of devotional service. What is the particular attraction that makes the Supreme Lord enthusiastic to accept devotional service, and what is the nature of such service? The Vedic scriptures inform us that the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the absolute truth, is self-sufficient, and that Maya, naissance, can never influence him at all. Therefore, the potency that overcomes the Supreme must be purely spiritual. Such a potency cannot be anything of the material manifestation. The bliss enjoyed by the Supreme Personality of Godhead cannot be of material composition, like the impersonalist conception of the bliss of Brahman. Devotional service is reciprocation between two, and therefore it cannot be located simply within one's self. Therefore, the bliss of self-realization, Brahmananda, cannot be equated with devotional service. The Supreme Personality of Godhead has three kinds of internal potency, namely the Hiladani Shakti or pleasure potency, the Sandhini Shakti or existential potency, and the Samvit Shakti or cognitive potency. In the Vishnu Purana 1.12.69, the Lord is addressed as follows: O Lord, you are the support of everything. The three attributes, Hiladani, Sandhani, and Samvit, exist in you as one spiritual energy. But the material modes which cause happiness, misery, and mixtures of the two do not exist in you, for you have no material qualities. Hiladani is the personal manifestation of the blissfulness of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, by which he enjoys pleasure. Because the pleasure potency is perpetually present in the Supreme Lord, the theory of the impersonalist that the Lord appears in the material mode of goodness cannot be accepted. The impersonalist conclusion is against the Vedic version that the Lord possesses a transcendental pleasure potency. When the pleasure potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead is exhibited by His grace in the person of a devotee, that manifestation is called love of God. Love of God is an epithet for the pleasure potency of the Lord. Therefore, devotional service reciprocated between the Lord and his devotee is an exhibition of the transcendental pleasure potency of the Lord. The potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead that always enriches him with transcendental bliss is not material, but the Shankarites have accepted it as such because they are ignorant of the identity of the Supreme Lord and his pleasure potency. Those ignorant persons cannot understand the distinction between, excuse me, impersonal spiritual bliss and the variegatedness of the spiritual pleasure potency. The Hiladani potency gives the Lord all transcendental pleasure, and the Lord bestows such a potency upon his pure devotee. What a purport. Did anyone understand anything? All we heard was pleasure potency, pleasure potency, pleasure potency, Supreme Personality of Godhead. Such an elaborate purport Srila Prabhupada has given, and he explains what is the purpose of the Hiladani Shakti: to give pleasure to Krishna. That's the bottom line. And also, more importantly, to nourish Krishna's devotees. That means Radharani, her Hiladani Shakti, what does it do? It nourishes the devotees of Krishna. So if we take shelter of Srimati Radharani, we can get favor of Krishna. But to do that, to get the favor of Krishna, you get the mercy of Radharani. To get the mercy of Radharani, you need the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. To get the mercy of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, you need the mercy of Lord Nityananda. And to get the mercy of Lord Nityananda is to get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. To get the mercy of Srila Prabhupada is to get the mercy of Guru Maharaj. And how do we get his mercy? To get the mercy of all the Vaishnavas. These Vaishnavas are the ones that are nourished by Hiladani Shakti. How merciful is she? And Prabhupada also says her recommendation can get us the favor of Krishna very easily. Now in the purport, excuse me, Srila Prabhupada talks about Jiva Goswami's Preeti Sandarbha. Now I have personally not read the Sandarbhas. He also mentions another Sandarbha, but I have not read the Sandarbhas. And here we can understand that Jiva Goswami says that only devotional service can take one to Krishna. Only devotional service can help one to come face to face with Krishna. Srila Prabhupada, he could see Krishna, a pure devotee. So if one gets purified and come to that level, not to the level of Srila Prabhupada, but come to the level of pure devotion, then one will be able to see Krishna face to face. Even in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks about Bhaktya Mam Abhijanati, that only by bhakti one can understand Krishna. Only by devotional service it is possible. So even Srila Prabhupada in his purport is stressing on the importance of devotional service. And we already learned today the 5 limbs of devotional service. So if somehow or the other we can meditate on those and follow those, then there is a possibility that we may get mercy of Guru and Krishna. And devotional service is very, very important. Since Srila Prabhupada has mentioned it so many times, maybe we could, as I said, meditate on our devotional practices and see what is it that I am doing is not sufficient, should be more. What is it that I can improve? What is it? Is it chanting? Is it association? Is it reading? Is it hearing? Is it going to temple? What is it that I can improve in my devotional service? Also meditate to see if there is any slack in my devotional practice. Very, very important. Just like the teachers in school, the parents at home, what do? They keep track of the report card, right? What is it my child is doing? Is it improving, or the child is slackening in the study? So similarly, we should also ask these questions to ourselves. So Srila Prabhupada says that only devotional service can attract Krishna towards us. It's only pure devotional service. He has given us books, he has given us knowledge, he has given us guidance. Krishna is giving us guidance from within the heart. He is present without as a bona fide spiritual master. So there's nothing more that is needed. We have got everything, the whole process is there. And Krishna is just waiting for the devotee to take that extra step. What is that called? An extra mile? What is that called? No, there's something. Is it the whole 9 yards it's called? What is it called? Yes, going all the way. Or is it that we are just doing bare minimum? Okay, I've been told to Mangal Aarti, done today. I've been told to do 16 rounds, done today. Check mark. Is it just that? Or is it like, oh, what else can I do? Because here in this purport, Srila Prabhupada is talking about devotional service all throughout. And Krishna is just waiting. Ye yathama prapadyante. I'm waiting. As much as you will surrender unto me, I will reward you accordingly. So Srila Prabhupada here is talking about 3 kinds of internal potencies of Krishna. Hiladani Shakti, which is pleasure-giving potency. Sandani Shakti, which is existential potency, which means about human existence or related to existence or concerned with existence. Then there is Samvit Shakti, which is cognitive potency, which is conscious intellectual activity. These are big, big words. So I had to Google and see what does it mean? What does cognitive mean? Because when I was in school in my days, these words were not there. These words may be discovered later on. I don't know. Did any of you know about cognitive? No. Okay, I don't feel that bad now. So I had to Google and see what does cognitive. It means conscious intellectual activity like thinking, reasoning. That is what it means. And this is, Prabhupada says, this is also accepted as knowledge. So Srila Prabhupada says that in Vishnu Puran, these three potencies are mentioned, and these three exist in Krishna as spiritual energy. We have heard that Krishna is Nirguna. Nirguna means some people think Krishna has no guna at all. No, that means he doesn't have material more gunas, right? All he has is spiritual qualities, not material. So here we see Srila Prabhupada gives a beautiful description of this Shakti. And when this potency is exhibited, that is called love of Krishna. That's what he's describing. So the reciprocation is there between Krishna and his pure devotees. And when this reciprocation takes place, that is what Prabhupada says is the exhibition of Hiladani Shakti, the pleasure-giving potency. And it is this Hiladani Shakti that gives pleasure to Krishna. Not only that, it gives complete, transcendental, spiritual bliss. Such big words Srila Prabhupada uses. Complete. You don't need anything beyond that. It's transcendental. And also it is spiritual bliss. But ignorant cannot understand all this. Imagine if we meet someone on the road or for the first time and we want to talk about Krishna and we say, you know, Hiladani Shakti, it gives complete. He's like, what's wrong with you? Are you a mental case or what? This is very high level. That's why Srila Prabhupada calls Caitanya Charitamrta as postgraduate level. Only those who have done high school and have done graduation and can now understand what's going on in post-graduation. So ignorant cannot understand, and it is also difficult for devotees to understand. I am one case like that. I cannot understand all this. This is all knowledge to hear, to appreciate and think about it. Then maybe by the mercy of Guru and Krishna, all this will be understood. And it is Krishna who bestows this potency on pure devotees. Let's go to the next verse, number 61. Satchidananda Purna Krishnera Swarupa Ekai Shakti Tanra Dharitina Rupa. Translation by Srila Prabhupada. Lord Krishna's body is eternal or Sat, full of knowledge or Chit, and full of bliss or Anand. His one spiritual energy manifests these, three forms. In Lord Brahma's prayers, the very first verse he says is Ishvara Paramakrishna Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. This is the description of Krishna's body, transcendental body, which is Sat, eternal, Chit, full of knowledge, Anand, full of bliss. So in other words, his body is not material, it is transcendental, but our bodies are material. They have a beginning and they have an end. But the good news is the real us, which is a spirit soul, is spiritual because it is part of Krishna. We'll do the last verse for today, number 62. Anandamshe ladini sadamshe sandhini chidamshe samvidyare jnana karimani. Translation and purport by Srila Prabhupada. Hiladani is his aspect of bliss, Sandhini of eternal existence, and Samvit of cognizance, which is also accepted as knowledge. Purport. In his thesis, Bhagavad Sandarbha 103, Srila Jiva Goswami explains the potencies of the Lord as follows. The transcendental potency of the Supreme Personality of Godhead by which he maintains his existence is called Sandhini. The transcendental potency by which he knows himself and causes others to know him is called Samvit. The transcendental potency by which he possesses transcendental bliss and causes his devotees to have bliss is called Hiladini. The total exhibition of these potencies is called Vishuddha Sattva. And this platform of spiritual variegatedness is displayed even in the material world when the Lord appears here. The pastimes and manifestations of the Lord in the material world are therefore not at all material. They belong to the pure transcendental state. The Bhagavad Gita confirms that anyone who understands the transcendental nature of the Lord's appearance, activities, and disappearance becomes eligible for freedom from material bondage upon quitting the present material tabernacle. He can enter the spiritual kingdom to associate with the Supreme Personality of Godhead and reciprocate the Hiladani potency in transactions between him and the Lord. In the mundane mode of goodness, there are tinges of passion and ignorance. Therefore, mundane goodness being mixed is called Mishra Sattva. But the transcendental variegatedness of Vishuddha Sattva is completely free from all mundane qualities. Vishuddha Sattva is therefore the proper atmosphere in which to experience the personality of Godhead and his transcendental pastimes. Spiritual variegatedness is eternally independent of all material conditions and is non-different from the Supreme Personality of Godhead, both being absolute. The Lord and his devotees simultaneously perceive the Hiladani potency directly by the power of the Samvit potency. The material modes of nature control the conditioned souls, but the Supreme Personality of Godhead is never influenced by these modes, as all Vedic literatures directly and indirectly corroborate. Lord Krishna himself says in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 11:25-12, Sattvam rajas tama iti guna jivasya naiva me. The material modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance are connected with the conditioned souls, but never with me, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Vishnu Puran confirms this as follows: Satvadayo na santishe yatra na prakrita gunaha sa shuddha sarva shuddhebhyaha puman adyaha prasidhatu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, Vishnu, is beyond the three qualities: goodness, passion, and ignorance. No material qualities exist in him. May that original person, Narayana, who is situated in a completely transcendental position, be pleased with us. In the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam 10:27-4, Indra praises Krishna as follows: Vishuddha sattvam tavadhama shantam tapo mayam dhvasta rajas tamaskam maya mayo ayam guna sampravaho navidyate grahananu bandha. My dear Lord, your abode is Vishuddha Sattva, always undisturbed by the material qualities, and the activities there are in transcendental loving service unto your feet. The goodness, austerity, and penance of the devotees enhance such activities, which are always free from the contamination of passion and ignorance. Material qualities cannot touch you under any circumstances. When not manifested, the modes of material nature are said to be in goodness. When they are externally manifested and active in producing the varieties of material existence, they are said to be in passion. And when there is a lack of activity and variegatedness, they are said to be in ignorance. In other words, the pensive mood is goodness, activity is passion, and inactivity is ignorance. Above all these mundane qualitative manifestations is Vishuddha Sattva. When it is predominated by the Sandhini potency, it is perceivable as the existence of all that be. When predominated by the Samvit potency, it is perceived as knowledge in transcendence. And when predominated by the Hiladani potency, it is perceived as the most confidential love of Godhead. Vishuddha Sattva, the simultaneous manifestation of these three in one, is the main feature of the kingdom of God. The absolute truth is therefore the substance of reality, eternally manifest in three energies. The manifestation of the internal energy of the Lord is the inconceivably variegated spiritual world. The manifestation of the marginal energy comprises the living entities, and the manifestation of the external energy is the material cosmos. Therefore, the absolute truth includes these four principles: the Supreme Personality of Godhead Himself, His internal energy, His marginal energy, and His external energy. The form of the Lord and the expansions of His form as Swayam Rupa and Vaibhava Prakash are directly the enjoyers of the internal energy, which is the eternal exhibitor of the spiritual world, the most confidential of the manifestations of energy. The external manifestation, the material energy, provides the covering bodies of the conditioned living entities from Brahma down to the insignificant ant. This covering energy is manifested under the three modes of material nature and appreciated in various ways by living entities in both the higher and lower forms of life. Each of the three divisions of the internal potency, the Sandhani, Samvit, and Hiladani energies, influences one of the external potencies by which the conditioned souls are conducted. Such influence manifests the three qualitative modes of material nature, proving definitely that the living entities, the marginal potency, are eternally servitors of the Lord and are therefore controlled by either the internal or the external potency. All of you may wake up now. Such a long purport. What do we learn from this? There is so much knowledge on just these different potencies. We learned a little bit about these potencies in verse number 60, just two verses before. And here Srila Prabhupada is quoting Jiva Goswami again. And what is he talking about? His Bhagavad Sandarbha. And I have not read the Sandarbha, so I cannot explain it, but I can repeat what Srila Prabhupada has said in the purport. He's explained very nicely. Probably Srila Prabhupada knew that there will be devotees like me who will not read Sandarbhas. You know, I remember hearing, I forget, Radhika Raman Prabhu once said that he has done a PhD in only just one small portion of one of the Sandarbhas. Just one small portion. It is so vast. Has anyone read Sandarbhas?
Is it available online?
It should be. It should be. As Jiva Goswami's Sandarbhas. So here Srila Prabhupada is giving very nice explanation. He's explaining the knowledge that we are getting from Caitanya Caritamrta. All he says is, Sandhani Shakti is by which Krishna maintains his existence. Samvit Shakti is where Krishna knows himself. And then he also causes others to know him. So if Krishna causes us to know him, what Shakti will it be? Samvit Shakti. And then he says that, as we have already heard many times, Prabhupada say, it is not possible to know Krishna fully. Why? Because his potencies are expanding all the time. It is said that Ananta Shesh has been describing Krishna's glories since time immemorial. He's still not finished. Who are we? All we can do is hear Srila Prabhupada, read Srila Prabhupada's books and try to understand and leave it to Krishna, Guru and Krishna. So by Hiladani Shakti, Krishna possesses transcendental bliss, and this bliss is permanent. It is not temporary like the happiness we get in this material world. So all these potencies put together is called Vishuddha Sattva, which is present when Krishna comes, when he descends in this material world. So Krishna's pastimes are purely spiritual. We know that. And in the Bhagavad Gita, as Srila Prabhupada mentions in the purport, he refers to a very nice verse from Bhagavad Gita. Janma karma cha me divyam evam yoveti tatvat tyaktva deham punarjanma naiti mameti so Arjuna. Krishna says, if someone can understand my Janma, not just that, the transcendental nature of my appearance, my activities, what else? And his disappearance. That person will not come back into this material world. Theoretically, it's very easy to understand how Krishna appeared in the prison house. We know the whole story. Theoretically, we have heard so many pastimes. He killed this demon, that demon, he did this, we heard so many pastimes theoretically. And we have heard, how he disappeared. Some say a hunter, shot an arrow, whatever it is. We have heard all this, but this is all theory. How do we understand it practically? We need the mercy of Guru and Krishna. So here Krishna is saying, if one can understand the transcendental nature, then one does not come back into this material world, but goes back to his spiritual abode. So that is called art of dying. If we can understand that verse, that means we have learned the art of dying. And Bhagavad Gita and other scriptures, they are teaching us art of living, how to live our lives, so that at the final examination, we are able to remember Krishna and go back to Godhead. So, so here in the purpose, Srila Prabhupada is saying that Hiladani Shakti is one that gives pleasure to Krishna. And both Krishna and his pure devotees, they can perceive this Shakti, this Hiladani Shakti. How is that possible? It says in the purport, by the power of Samvit Shakti, and that is Vishuddha Sattva. But in the material world, it is mixed. That's why it's called Mishra Sattva. The goodness is mixed. It is not pure. So Srila Prabhupada is giving reference of Vishnu Purana, and we have learned even from Bhagavad Gita that Krishna is beyond the three modes of material nature. These material modes do not touch him or affect him. Now, another important point Srila Prabhupada talks about in his long purport is, he says the pensive mood is goodness. What is pensive? Introspective. Can you call it serious? Deep serious, yes. Deeply serious, like, yeah, good idea to Google it. I forgot to Google it to see what does pensive. So pensive mood is goodness. Oh yes, I did. Deep reflection, serious thought. Deep serious thought. Deep reflection. That is pensive mood. Activity is passion, and inactivity is ignorance. We've learned this in Bhagavad Gita. So Srila Prabhupada describes these three potencies. Sandhani Shakti is perceived as existence of all that be. Samvit Shakti is perceived as knowledge and transcendence. Hiladani Shakti is perceived as love of Krishna. And then we have heard the three energies: internal, external, internal, marginal, and material. These three we have heard. So internal is spiritual world. Marginal is we, living entities. Why marginal? Prabhupada says we can either go up or we can go down. That's why marginal. And material cosmos is the external energy. So these are all four. Krishna is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, internal energy, external energy, and marginal energy. And Prabhupada says that each living entity is controlled either by internal or external energy. So if somehow or the other we can follow the process given to us by Srila Prabhupada, then this marginal energy can somehow or the other raise itself to the internal energy. So very, very long purport and lot of knowledge. Big words, lot to digest. Yes. So I'll stop now. If anyone has any questions or comments, you're welcome.